time that I spent 4 years at IIT, I mean, I would not trade that for anything else. I would say, no, I was a dream to get to IIT Delhi. You say, hey, look, if you're staying in the IIT, then you're anyway in the 3 Sigma, 6 Sigma part of the curve, right? If you're young, smart, and a little bit willing to work hard, what will go wrong? I mean, somebody will give you a job, right? I mean, hopefully, that is my expectation. If there is something that you don't know, you will be able to say, hey, I'll figure out how to understand this over a period of time. Too early? Are you too late in trying to solve? Sometimes being very early is not that great because then you have to educate the entire ecosystem. If this is a pitch which is coming from IT, you're saying, in your mind, there is a certain image which is there. So you said because of that, my initial filter says that's fine.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Dil Se IIT Delhi podcast. I'm very excited for today's episode because we have a very distinguished guest present with us today, Mr. S.K. Jain. He has also been the managing partner and founder for two big firms, Westbridge and Sequoia Capital. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Great to be here.
How was your experience looking around, going around the campus?
Yeah, it was wonderful, on this bright, lovely morning.
And how different is the campus now?
Actually, it's very different. I mean, I just came from the lecture complex, and
Yeah.
it was not there. I mean, I graduated from IIT now more than 30 years ago.
Yes.
So yeah, it wasn't there, and I can see all the new infrastructure which has been built up.
That's right.
But still, some things stay the same in
That's
which sense that still feels like you're coming back home. So
Yeah.
so wonderful to be here.
Absolutely. So tracing your journey from engineering, did that organically happen or was it always planned? Was IIT Delhi your preference?
I mean, I would say IIT Delhi was my dream to get to, not preference. I grew up in a very small town near Delhi in a place called Modinagar. So, in that sense, that was almost,
Exactly.
30 years ago. That was a dream to get to IIT
True.
Delhi. Since then, I mean, I think it's difficult to argue that, you had your life planned out,
That's
that
true.
what will happen over the
That's
next
true.
20, 30 years. But I think I've always felt that, each step that you are there, if you're doing a good job over there and you're fortunate to be in a right place, then
Absolutely.
lots of different opportunities will open up, and then obviously each one of us will chart our own path.
Sure.
And that's how life happens.
Exactly. So walk us through your campus life. What kind of a student were you? Were you the academically inclined one or were you the more roaming around the campus having fun with your friends?
So I think I like to think of both.
Okay.
I like to think of both. But on that, I would also say for me, since then I've obviously had a good fortune of being in different parts of the world, working, living. I've always felt that the amount of step change that I experienced coming from a small town in Modinagar to IIT Delhi was the largest step change that I ever faced in my life. After that, whether it was going over to the US, studying there, working at Intel, or starting, I never felt that kind of a step change.
Oh, lovely.
Because I always, I still remember the first day or the first couple of weeks, I was just in awe of. I was like, my God, everybody is so smart and bright.
Exactly. So it's a very humbling experience.
It was like, oh my God, what is going to happen? And
Yeah.
and my kids know this, that I still remember that the first exam, and it's one of those, not the minor or major, but you do something and then in the classroom the teacher will give you a quiz. So I still remember I took the first ever one. When I came, and I got it all wrong. There was nothing that I got right on that one,
no.
and I was wondering, oh my God,
And you must have been a topper in school. So
yeah, I mean, look,
must be
like
coming
most
from
people
that-
are, and especially if you're coming from a small town, then you
Right.
think, and to me that was probably the biggest humbling experience, because then you realize that you are no longer in a small pond,
Yeah.
but you are in a
Bigger ocean.
big ocean. So I think to me that was a big this thing. But frankly, after that, thankfully, and I think largely got to do with the friends that I, and the group of friends that we had. I just felt it was, another, home, and for me, that has been the biggest, biggest memory of IT. I think, yes, I did reasonably well academically,
Yes.
all of that.
Clearly.
So that was that was okay. But I like to think that finding that right balance.
Yes.
That it's not just one single axis. At least that's what my view has been. Whether it's just academics or whether it's just having fun, you need to somehow find a way to do your right mix is the key, and I feel fortunate that was the case.
That's very insightful. Since you have so much of a diverse experience in venture capital, did any of the things, your learnings from IIT, implement in your career journey?
Yeah. So I think, I think the answer, at least, and it's an interesting question which comes up, in various forms. I think to me the answer is along two dimensions. One is, if you go back and say, hey, look, is there a specific principle or a technique or a thing that you learned in this course which you are applying? I think there, over a period of time, and now I'm saying I'm talking 30 years ago, there will be some foundational principles, but very directly, it'll be very difficult to argue for that. Like, for example, if today, let's say, a lot of investment is happening in the AI world, right? 30 years ago, that didn't exist.
Yes.
AI didn't exist in the way that we know it. Having said that, what was still there was neural networks. I still remember that we were talking about in final year, there were things like neural networks that were being talked about. Now, if you think about what that is, that is the foundational thing for what's happening in a lot of AI. I remember cell phones, how cell phone technology would come in, and how call switchovers will happen from one tower to another was an area of research interest at that point in time. Right. So clearly, then right after that, 5-6 years ago, that is something that was that was useful. But I think the more important axis is that. So while that is I think simple points, I think for me the more important axis has been this, that IIT Delhi eventually, at least if I look back, gives you the ability and confidence on two things.
Yes.
Which is what? That look, if there is something that you don't know, you will be able to say, hey, I'll figure out how to understand this over a period of time, provided I'm willing to put in the effort.
Yeah.
So yesterday it could have been neural networks, cell phone. Today it is AI. Tomorrow it will be something else.
Something else,
right? I mean, and that's part. But I think what it gives you is that inherent confidence that if you put in the effort, you can do it, and it has given you a little bit of a roadmap of how to do it.
Right.
So to me, that is the more. So to that extent, absolutely everything. The time that I spent 4 years at IIT. I mean, I would not trade that for anything else. I would say no.
That's beautiful. That's
that's without a doubt.
So let's say, for example, if there's an investment pitch from an IIT alumnus, would you be a little biased, or would you be more critical about their pitch?
Look, I think one is a little bit more biased. I would say to the extent that the first pass is easier. What I mean by that is, you assume, hey, look, if this is a pitch which has come in from IIT, you're saying, in your mind, there is a certain image which is there.
That's right.
So you say, because of that, my initial filter says that's fine.
You've already kept them on a certain pedestal.
But after that, it only gets you that much, right?
Exactly.
Then after that, it's hey, look, it's like you have to go out and do what you're supposed to.
So what are your top 3 picks for any kind of investment, any pitches?
I would say, the first, depends on the stage at which you are investing, but at an early stage, I would say it is first and foremost is what you feel about the founding team, their ability to play the long game.
That's right.
Because you have to think that, this is something that they will need, it's not something which will happen in a short period of time. things will change, things will evolve. So you are essentially trying to figure out that, hey, look, is this a group which has that ability? Second, you're obviously looking for, for them to be smart and sharp about the idea that they have, fully recognizing that that will change.
Yes.
It's very unlikely that what is the first pitch and what if the business is successful and it will look like 5-10 years ago.
It will evolve into
It will
something
evolve.
else.
But I think what you're looking for is, does the founding team have the ability to, intellectual ability to figure this out, and the emotional ability to carry on that journey.
Exactly.
And I think the third part is, obviously at that point in time, you're also trying to figure out, given the problem that they are trying to solve, what is it that they've demonstrated so far in their ability to, is this just an idea, or are you saying, hey, look, you've done, what have you done about it? And your chance of, is this problem worth solving from an outcome perspective? What I mean by that is, are you potentially going after a large market opportunity or a small market opportunity? Because you can have some incredibly tough problems, but you think if the market size for them is not that big, then you would wonder whether that is that is where your energy is best spent. So I would probably think those are probably my top three
picks for,
three picks or reasons to think about.
Okay. And for different sectors, like let's say if there's tech investments, healthcare, what are your different kind of approaches for all these sectors? And now even more and more sectors are evolving nowadays. There's climate, healthcare also now. So how are your approaches different?
I mean, look, at some level, what I just talked about, those stay the same. I mean,
those are the foundation.
Those are foundation. Those stay the same. I think then the other then eventually begins down to how becomes more sector specific in terms of where that particular idea is in relation to where you think that ecosystem is today.
In terms of geography?
Well, in terms of, are you too early? Are you too late in trying to solve? Sometimes being very early is not that great, because then you have to educate the entire ecosystem.
Oh, right.
And for a young firm to educate the entire ecosystem is very tough.
That's true.
If you're too late, then there are already
a lot of competitors.
there are already the spaces
occupied,
are taken. So I think then it depends on, and you have to then think, what is the edge that a small, I mean, nimble, fast startup can bring to it, right? So then that becomes, so see, look, those will become very, 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 specific. But I think by and large, the question really is, are you defining what, if you make what you make, are you a feature in a product? Are you a product? Or are you a company? Because sometimes you can say, this is all cool, but really it is just a feature in a product, which is, somebody will have the product and this is a nice add-on feature.
Yeah, so you have to identify
whether what you're making is a feature in a product, or you think this is a, this is a big company which can, which can be made. And look, I think, let's be very clear, we probably get it wrong more than we get it right. But the idea is, hopefully when you get it right, it's right.
It's right. After your graduation, what was your journey like, and how was your transition to business like?
Yeah. So look, after IIT, I went to the US. I went to University of Minnesota, did a master's in electrical engineering. I guess in mid-90s, like all good engineers, I got an offer to go work for Intel. So I was part of the Pentium 2 design team, based in Portland. Worked there for a bit. Then, on a whim and a fancy, I decided to come back to India in mid-90s. And essentially, I just felt, hey, look, frankly, at that time, there wasn't much happening on the chip design side in India. Right? I mean, there was nothing.
Wasn't it a risky approach?
It was a very risky approach, but sometimes being young and foolish is great, because you don't know. Sometimes not knowing is wonderful, and that's what. So if there's one thing that I, in some ways, I'm always envious if I look back, or if I look to all the young folks today is that they're smart and hardworking and they don't know what can't work. So, so then you can go out and try different things
And you
because
have
you're
a lot
not
of time and energy.
because you're not burdened by this. This will not work for that reason. That will not work for that reason. You just, sometimes because that's what allows for breakthrough things. So I was young and foolish. I had most of my friends said, what are you doing? You're working for Intel. Semiconductor is a great time to be in the US. Mid-90s. What are you going to do in India? I said, we'll figure it out. We'll see something. And I was like, look, if you're young, smart, and a little bit willing to work hard, what will go wrong? I mean, somebody will give you a job, right? I mean, hopefully. That was my expectation. So look, as it turned out, then I came back to India. As it turned out, which was a little bit of a surprise at that time, there was a small entity which was doing some chip design in India in mid-90s. That got sold to Motorola. And that became how the Motorola Semiconductor Design Center started in India. But partly as that type of a transition, I got a little bit more interested also in the business side of things. So I then decided to go to business school. So I went to IIM Ahmedabad. And then when I graduated from IIM Ahmedabad, at least for me, one of the things which had become clear was that I wanted to be part of small outfits. Small outfits meaning small in number of people, but hopefully large in terms of impact. Again, different choices. Nothing is, it's not like one size fits all. Different people will have different aspirations and different things which work for them and which is great. So for me, it was very clear that I wanted to be part of, small number of people because there I felt, it's more energizing. And then, was very fortunate to somehow get connected to a bunch of great folks. Sandeep and I were at IIT together, and then two other folks, and we went through lot of wonderful journey together. Co-founding Westbridge and Sequoia Capital, which has its own journey. So look, was it planned? No. But look, each step at that time looked like a natural next step to take.
That's right.
And then God has been kind.
And talking about your connections, to what extent does that IIT tag help you? Not just in terms of going out and approaching others, like not just that label, but also in terms of networking, the kind of people you're working with, your batchmates, alumnus.
Yeah. Look, I think it's a huge advantage. Look, I think, as I said, the moment somebody, that, this person, there is a certain persona that you've already
coming from IIT.
You know, right or wrong, there is a certain this thing.
IIT Delhi or IIT?
Well, I would say obviously a little bit more biased towards IIT Delhi,
of course,
but have to be fair in IIT in general, because you are saying, hey, look, you're expecting a certain, what you're expecting is that you're automatically, it's almost like you were saying, if this is a bell curve, this is already the 3 sigma crowd of the bell curve, right? I guess this is more engineering type audience over, so one can use that.
I'm sure the audience will understand.
So because if you think it's a normal distribution, you say, hey, look, if you're saying this is ID, then you're anyway in the 3 sigma, 6 sigma part of the curve, right? So there is already this thing, and I think people feel that. So again, I've always felt that it always helps in the first connect. Beyond that,
it's all you.
It's all what you're bringing to the table, like in anything else, right? I mean, it's great. I mean, look, my favorite, I love cricket. So my favorite, this thing is, if you think of, hey, you scored a century in the last game, you go out and bat in the next game, you are still on 0. The fact that you scored 100 means you can have some confidence, but it doesn't mean anything in the context of that game. You have to now do what you need to do now. So to me, that's the way at least I look at it. It helps you, but then beyond that, it's about, look, you've got to do what's right.
You have to be consistent.
And of course, and look, I think it's not like people who didn't go to IIT are not going to be successful. They'll be immensely successful and have to be. It's not like IITs or anybody has a copyright on success, right? So obviously, but yes, it gives you a little bit of head start, but you should also realize it only gives you a little bit of head start. After that, it's what you bring to the table every single day.
Coming back to IIT campus, your hostel, you're from Kamau,
Yes,
right?
Kumau,
Yeah.
yes.
How was your experience? So one thing which I don't understand with the alumnus is what is it that one thing that connects everybody so much to their hostel,
Still.
especially like more than their departments,
Yeah.
classes? They are
Yeah.
so attached to their hostels. Why is that so?
Well, I think one is, if you just think of it, you've spent more time in the hostel than anywhere else.
Yeah, that's basic.
Just, and I think the other part is that's where you are yourself. See, you are yourself. What I mean by that is, in the hostel, you're with your batchmates, hostel mates, and you're yourself. And especially I find that people, I'm sure it's still the same, but at least I can say for myself. For most of us, it was the first time we were away from home. You're 17, 18, you've just, come back from a largely, whatever, home, this thing, to being on your own. And I think people form some wonderful, friendships, which last decades.
Yeah.
I mean, lifetime, right? I mean, if you ask me today, I would say some of my closest friends are from IIT
So
Delhi.
there wasn't any sense of competition?
Look, there is, obviously there is.
Yeah.
But I think at least I found that, that may happen on specific things. Probably happens a little bit later when you're becoming a little bit more,
Didn't overpower basically.
yeah, especially not in the first couple of years. People were generally, most people were, I would say, most people suddenly realized that, look, everybody realized, hey, everybody around is smart. So people just, at least I felt, were very comfortable. Yes, there is competition. I mean, of course there is. There is, and some of it is good. Some competition is always good, and but look, at the same point in time, I remember all the time, for all the majors, minors, people will study together. People would easily share their notes. I never thought there was ever any this thing on that people will say, hey, look, this guy takes the best notes. His notes will be available from 8 to 9 p.m. Somebody will have his notes, and 9 to 10 somebody else will have the notes, and that was perfectly fine. At that time, photocopying was expensive, so I don't think we could do.
No mobile phones also.
Obviously, no mobile phones.
Yeah.
So I think people were a lot more. I mean, at least I've felt. To me, that is the reason that people have, and people would go through ups and downs together.
Yeah.
A lot of downs. You'll come back after an exam and you'll be like, oh my God, what it is.
You went through ragging together also.
Yes. I mean, I don't know what the appropriate term is. There wasn't much. Actually, I look at it as very fun, to be very fair, even for us.
Healthy interaction, we call it.
Yeah, I mean, which is what it was. Actually, genuinely, it was something which was, I mean, look, maybe we were the lucky one. And I don't think it was that bad. It was a healthy interaction. I genuinely,
That's nice. So
now
what
maybe,
was it like?
I mean, look, most times it was harmless fun. People would, now, having said that, I'm sure there were incidents which were happening at that point in time you would have felt should not have happened, and maybe right now the mind 30 years later only remembers the pleasurable parts of those and doesn't remember the, that's how the human brain works, and that's probably true. But I felt that even the fact that you went through it together helped you bring stronger relationships within the
and with your seniors also.
Yes. I mean, and again, some of them are wonderful friends. See, to me, IT was always not just about your own match, but the good part of being in a hostel is also you have connects with plus and minus 3 years, right? So so which is I think that's probably the reason. Then there's always one common thing to complain about, which was mess food. So I'm sure nothing has changed on that.
It hasn't.
Doesn't matter.
No, it hasn't.
So I think look, I think it's just those things. of doing things together.
We have a couple of places to eat over here.
Yes.
Was it the same during your time?
Yeah. I mean, it was there. There were some. But look, largely there wasn't that much money.
Every student.
Yeah. So you would always wait for some friends whose parents were coming, or so that would be a good.
Yeah.
Any
Any dhabas around? Or...
I mean, KLS was obviously there. There's the Sasi Dhaba, and then there was the midnight parantha shop.
Okay.
Not shop. I mean, I don't think you can call it the shop. If you go to that crossing
just
and
a
turn
stand.
left, basically, and that guy used to serve paranthas from 12 in the night till 3 in the morning.
Much?
I don't remember. See, I don't remember that, but I remember that if you went to watch the movie at Chanakya, that I remember.
Okay.
So that in balcony was 8 rupees.
Okay.
A ticket was 8 rupees, and for the first 2 rows was 2 rupees.
Oh damn.
So that I remember. I don't remember what the
and for students at that time that was still expensive.
It was still expensive. I remember most times we would walk one way because you only had so much money.
How much was the distance?
I mean, to Chanakya, it would be. It would take about an hour to walk.
Wow.
So look, one way you take the bus, which will drop. Then if the movie finished and then after midnight, then buses were not there. It was difficult to afford an auto, so we would end up walking.
But you would walk in groups.
Yeah,
so
of course,
it's just...
of course.
Okay, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about, as you earlier mentioned, that young people should be exploring more. They're young and energetic. What should be the role of institutions like IIT Delhi and the newer institutions in fostering that kind of mindset in the students?
So I think, look, that is where the basis is formed. So, because this is where you're spending, 4 years, and I'm talking largely from an undergrad perspective. There's obviously a postgrad and a master, and a PhD perspective. But I think the 4 years that you spend as an undergrad is one of the most, in my mind, transformative years. So what skills that you, and to me, skills, again, as I say, go beyond technology skills. Technical skills are super important. I think there the key has to be, you have to feel as you come out of the institute, in my mind, that you have a broad horizontal technical skills, and in one or two areas you have a deep skill. Because see, the deep skills will keep changing. That's a fact of life, that what is super relevant today will become, something else will come in, which will become more relevant. The premier places have to make sure that fundamentally the skills are available. And I think unstructured problems, working in teams. So I think, in my mind, the earlier people begin to get away from this, that problems in life come in a well-packaged question.
They don't. Then there won't be problems anymore then.
Because, it's not about doing well. It's not about, hey, I gave you this very, very specific equation with all the data that you need to solve that problem available, and then you solve it.
It's simple then.
I mean, in the scheme of things, it's largely simple. A lot of times, it's about identifying the problem, trying to collect data, getting incomplete data, and then working with that. So I think the earlier, or the more students have done that, the more, in my mind, they are likely to be successful.
Okay. What I meant to ask was, so there's a very traditional education system in IITs also. So how can the approach be different?
See, look, again, I'm sure that's happening right now, right? To me, more of what's happening, more and more, which is projects based on real-time, real-world data in closer interaction with industry.
Yeah.
I think, to me, that if I had to just, say two things, that's what it would be. More projects with real-life data in closer interaction with the industry. So it's almost like you have to think. That is not to say that is not happening.
Yeah.
You almost have to think on that axis, how every year I make progress on that axis.
Okay. Yeah.
That because it's not in isolation.
You're not solving what we are learning or what we are trying to do, or if tomorrow you're going to design a problem, or let's say you're not an entrepreneur in the traditional sense. What I mean by traditional sense is that you're not starting a company. To me, you can still be entrepreneurial in whatever work that you're doing. How do you realize a problem, get people together, and solve? To me, that is the axis that we need to keep, almost saying, hey, if I was at point X last year, how can it be at X plus this year?
Yes. So this startup culture has grown over the past decade only, and during your time, it wasn't there weren't many entrepreneurs as well. So what were some of the learnings for you from that time? Because nowadays there are many trainings, there are so many shows coming up. I don't know if you watch Shark Tank. any of the startups that you liked?
I don't watch Shark Tank.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
So what were the learnings, mistakes?
No, look, I think mistakes were. So, look, I think at that time, see, look, some of it is how the ecosystem itself develops. What I mean by that is there is a more availability of talent, capital, and more importantly, acceptance of failure.
Now or at that time?
Now, see, because, and look, I think, and it's changing, it's reflective of how also India is evolving. At that time, if let's say you had done something and it didn't work, you would be almost afraid to talk about it.
Yeah. It
You
was
never
regarded
put
as
it,
a failure.
yeah, because it was a failure. I did something, tried to do something, didn't work. Now you may almost wear it as a badge of honor. Hey, look, I tried to do this. As long as I can articulate why it didn't work and what is it that I would want to do differently. Now that one is obviously confidence, but I think it's larger also ecosystem becoming more,
Accepting of
more accepting of it. I don't, and see, look, there is also change in aspiration. What I mean by that is, when we came in, for most people, the aspiration was, hey, look, if I can get a good job, which, and look, it's also representative of which which socioeconomic background you are coming from. That's what it is. Hey, if you come to this place, you get a good job. That's and with a secure, what should I say, trajectory. The aspiration has changed.
Yeah.
And I think, so to me, but that is a large, I mean, obviously IIT has a role to play of it, but it's also a large ecosystem itself is changing on that. So to that extent, it's obviously, very, it's a different world out there. It's a different world out there. I think, look, even the ability of to think at that time that you can think of trying to do something while you were on campus, just after campus. I don't know how many people had that. I mean, having said that, a lot of my batchmates, people senior, younger, have done phenomenal eval. But I think if you look at it in general as a proportion, it's obviously a lot more changed over time. But I think one of the things I also want to say is, being an entrepreneur does not necessarily mean that I'm going out and starting a company on my own. There are lots of other ways in which you can be an entrepreneur. And I think that is super important. To me, being an entrepreneur is recognizing a problem where you are, not somebody stating it, you yourself recognizing, and then you figuring it out, how will I go solve it with meager resources? And building a team around it to solve that. So I think at least that's the way I think about that.
Okay. So what is that one advice that you wish someone had given you when you were starting your career, in this entire journey or the trajectory?
Look, I mean, I don't know if I'm in a place to give advice, but the only suggestion I would say is, guys, it's a marathon. Don't be too transactional. Don't be too transactional. Don't think about, hey, what is it in it for me? What is it? Over the long run, if you keep doing the good things, life has a funny way of making it work. So don't be too transactional, would be my, and by transactional, I also mean don't be in a super hurry to think about, oh, I am here, I need to get here in 2 years. And sometimes what happens is you've focused all your energy in trying to get there, but you're not enjoying and full use of where you are.
Yeah.
So to me, that is also being transactional. That
Not
you are-
enjoying the journey also.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, do that. And obviously, look, work hard, enjoy all of it. You have to, and each one of us will find an equilibrium which is ours. Of between working hard, enjoying, and whatever is your equilibrium, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Do that, but this thing is, don't think of it transactional, think long term, and things will generally work out well.
Okay, great. If you could give one advice in the camera to the current students, because when you are on campus, when you're in your college, your studies, your exams is all that takes over everything. But when you go out, then you realize that there were a lot of things that, you could have enjoyed. So one advice for our current students.
Yeah, I would say, look, it's the same thing, guys. Yes, the exam tomorrow or the project due tomorrow seems like, the end of the world, and you should put in your best effort onto that, and absolutely. But I would also say, take time to get to know your batchmates, take time to know people around you, because at least in my mind, that's one of the biggest assets that you will carry out. And obviously, look, have that confidence that no matter what life will throw at you, you will find a way to come out of that flying well, which I'm sure you will do. So all the best.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have a small rapid fire.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's easy. Nothing. You just have to choose which one would you prefer. First year or fourth year?
First year.
Prouder moment, getting into IIT or securing your first job?
Getting into IIT.
Your hostel or your department?
Hostel.
I knew this. KLS or mess food? Again.
Yeah.
KLS. Okay. Library or wind tunnel?
Wind tunnel.
Did you guys hang out in the wind tunnel?
All I can say is I was in the library I used to study, but I was in the library for a limited
Yeah,
period.
but what is so fascinating about the wind tea?
It's different. At least for me, it was just
Yeah.
like, hey, it's become an iconic place. And yes, obviously, it's windy and all of
yeah.
that. But it's just a cool place to hang out.
Okay, great. IIT or IIM?
Actually, I would still say IIT, because I would think that's where I spent the first time I was out of home. So for that reason.
Yeah.
For that reason. And it was longer.
Okay. Rendezvous or convocation?
Rendezvous or convocation, which one would I go to if you're saying?
If you could, huh.
Look, if it means I have to miss the convocation, then I'll go to the convocation.
No, if you got a chance to relive.
Relive. Yeah, I think that's a tough one.
Yeah,
That's
because you have to back your answer.
Yeah. Maybe for me, I would say the convocation.
Convocation?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a rare answer. Why?
Yeah. Rendezvous was a lot of fun. So look, but with lots of friends, always. It was a great this thing. But somehow, if I had to look back, convocation is something which can only happen at IIT Delhi.
Okay.
For me, right? Because that's where,
Yeah.
whereas...
Like brings you on campus?
No, but it's all... Because it felt like it was for you also. What I mean by that is, convocation was, and I'm talking only of that one
You
single...
and IIT.
That, you were graduating, your parents were there,
Oh,
all
okay.
of that, right? So to me...
All tied together.
All tied together, because it was, in some ways, it was also personal.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas Rendezvous, look, I was never that, talented to be performing or doing any of those things. So in that sense, I was a spectator.
Okay.
Whereas in the convocation, I felt, even though minor, I had a role to, I was also a part of the central act.
Yeah, true. Makes sense. Okay, now last is student life or current life?
Look, again, I would want to be a student again, but I'm also, look, there I genuinely feel... like in all things, you need to have all experiences. So I'm very happy. I would do the student thing again, but I'm also
Enjoying what you're
enjoying what I'm doing. Having said that,
Yeah.
I would love if there was an ability to come back and do micro courses.
Okay. Would you like to elaborate on that?
So what I mean by that is, if, for example, I could come back and, one is executive education, which is there, but can you come back and do things if there was a specific area that you were interested in for whatever reason, which may not be related to, what you're doing right now.
Right.
And in some ways, somebody could, in a structured way, lay it out for you over a period of time. I would enjoy that. At least I'm speaking. Personally speaking. Like, for example, I maybe, if somebody said, "Hey, look, let's talk about what does it take for India to have achieved an unmanned landing on the moon." Right? We just did it.
Yeah.
What does it mean from a technology perspective? Here are the different pieces that made you that helped us do that. If somebody could, while I said we can figure out a lot of information, at least I would personally like that ability. That somebody would do that. You could do it in a micro course. At least I would, personally speaking, I would love that.
Yeah, we would definitely look at that, an approach like that. Would you like to give a message to our alumni and give them an advice or a suggestion, or maybe ask them to come back and contribute to for us?
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I would say just a suggestion. Look, and I'm sure it's true. Like, anybody who's graduated from IIT, anytime you come back to campus, I'm sure you feel like home. It feels, somehow you're transported back to when you're still, in your, you're 18 or 19, which obviously is a wonderful time. I think the one suggestion that I would also have is, please, especially as life has been kind to you and all, find a way, especially as one is getting on in years, to find a way to contribute back. And that can be in time, that can also be in capital, because look, one of the reasons we get a lot from IIT is because of what IIT, not just for what IIT was 30 years ago or 20 years ago, but it's also what IIT is today and what it will be in the future. And as we know, financial independence is a great requirement for that, or is a necessary requirement for that. If you go back and look at most universities around the world, roughly 20 to 25% of the alum do contribute quite regularly to the institute. So in whatever way you can, please do come back, spend some time, spend some time with the students, with the faculty, in whichever way you can contribute. I think that'll be great.
Okay. Thank you so much for participating, sir. Hope you liked it.
No, thank you so much. Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.